Hey, welcome back to another video on the Myth Impressions channel. Back in the leather shop today. I've been doing some posts on the Facebook groups, and I've had a lot of questions about the embossing that I'm doing with the 3D printer. And the last video I did talking about this, it was rather long-winded, had a bunch of other stuff to say, and I also wasn't quite to the same place that I am now, so I've done some more testing and stuff, so I thought I'd try to do a shorter, quicker video, just giving you the rundown on basically what I'm doing. So I'm going to zoom in to the wheel real quick, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so real quick, I've got another design that I finished off the printer this morning. So I'm going to go ahead and do a full strip, a full belt with that. And I've already started with it. I've got a little bit damp here, and fortunately, I got my little sponge and everything here, so I can just kind of dab this as it comes along, make sure it's good and wet to run through here. And this works pretty much, I'm assuming, like the commercial embossers. The only difference is I made this one myself. This is all 3D printed. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank this down into the groove. And then I'm going to feed the belt into my ramp here. Just get it started, and then I'm going to crank this down so that I'm getting a good amount of pressure on it, and then just run it through. So I'm just kind of holding this down on the ramp with my fingers, and then I'll catch this as it's coming out the back here, and then I'll stop occasionally to kind of make sure that I've got enough water on this. Alright, and there's our belt. As you can see, it's got a good design on it there, hopefully. I'll try to hold this up so that you can see that. And that's now, I just let this dry, and we'll cut it to length, put our holes and stuff in, and die finish as normal. So that's basically how it works. I'm pretty happy with it. I'm going to go ahead and if you want an explanation of the parts and everything, I'm going to go ahead and get it apart, show you how everything works. I'll take it down on the table here so you can kind of see the details. If not, then feel free to skip out here. But that's basically what this machine is doing, and I made all the parts myself and had one part machined. But let's get in here and I'll show you the parts. Okay, so I got all the pieces laid out here, and so let me just start by saying that this whole thing is built on a tubing roller for bending pipes. I got this from Harbor Freight for 250 bucks, and I've just modified it with a couple of parts, in a few, well, 3 parts, and then there's some extras on there that aren't really necessary. And what this is set up to do. It comes with these, big rollers, sets for different size pipe, and they sit. There's 2 lower rollers that sit on these bearings, and the bearings just pop in there, and you can change them out. And there's 2 lowers and an upper, and this moves up and down on a crank, and that's what bends your pipe when you run it through. So what I did is I replaced these wheels. I replaced this lower wheel with a part. This right here, I had a friend of mine has a machine shop, so once I did my testing and everything worked out well, I had him go ahead and print out or machine this out of aluminum, and it just accepts the same bearings from the machine. They fit in there, and then this fits on that lower shaft, and then I printed a couple of spacers to kind of generally keep it mostly centered. And then this upper wheel, I replaced this with my own part that I designed, and I 3D printed this as 100% infill. And this upper wheel, it's got set screws on it. The original had 3 set screws, and it's all one piece. And then this little collar right here is tapped and threaded, and then it goes onto the drive shaft. There's little flat spots on there. It basically clamps on, and then that's what drives the whole machine. So what it is, I replaced this with my own 3D printed design, and I had to, if I could get this machined, it would be great, because I would go ahead and machine it out of aluminum and then have it tapped and threaded just like this, so that I could use the same screws and everything from the kit too. But because I had to 3D print it, you can't, there's not enough plastic in there to print, to thread, and get enough of a grip. So I actually had to get some shaft collars, and I just went to the hardware store. So naturally the standard 3/4 inch shaft collar did not fit the metric shaft, because you know this is made overseas and somewhere, because they're not high quality machines. Harbor Freight. But anyways, so then I had to sand these out. But that way I can do these set screws on here, and that's been working really well. You know, if we were going to do, if this was going to be a kit, we'd have to get enough people together to actually have these machined, because having one machined is stupid expensive because of all the setup time. But if you have 10 or 15 of them machined, then the cost gets spread out over 15 of them, and it's a lot more affordable. So if it's just me, this is working fine. I've not had any problems with it, and I've done several straps and several belts here already without any problem. So I'm pretty happy with that. But anyways, so this I've made this with teeth all the way around, and then all my designs are printed on these sleeves. And these sleeves just fit on the teeth, and I've got different size ones. This one is a 1.5 inch. So the 1.5 inch, what I did is I just made spacers to go on there so that it goes the full width of the wheel. And then this lower wheel now goes directly below the upper wheel instead of being offset, and that slot goes all the way down, so it fits perfectly in that same slot. And I just popped it in there, and then everything lines up on this upper drive wheel. So when I put those sleeves on there, this raises and lowers, it cranks down, presses it into the leather, and then I turn the drive shaft with this big giant oversized wheel here, and that runs it through with no problem. The other piece that I've got, this is 3D printed as well. It's just a feed ramp, and this goes on that front shaft. So when it sits in the machine, it sits in there like this. Then you have the upper wheel raises and lowers, and this is just set up to guide the belts through. What I did is I printed the main base of it, and it's got a groove to kind of hold it in place. And I have different size straps here, 1 inch, 1.25. This is a 1.5 inch. It's on there, and then it just fits in the grooves to kind of keep it lined up. And then I put a little piece of tape on it to keep it from sliding off while I'm running the belts through, and that works fine. It's got some room for improvement, but for what I'm doing right now, I think it's working great. I added these little springy tabs on the end here, so they kind of pinch the belt and keep it the even pressure on both sides, and that so that it keeps the belt centered just as it's entering the wheel, right in the press here. So that's kind of important. It'd be nice to be able to have this all out of metal with like metal, like a spring tab or springs or something on it. But for what I'm doing, again, this is working good. And if I break these, I can just print another one, no big deal. So, but anyway, so that's the general, that's the guts of the machine. Everything for me has been working really well. As you can see, my test prints that I posted on the Facebook group, those came out nice. I've got like 6 or 7 different prints now. And when I started with this idea, I started with just flat plates. So doing these flat plate designs, and I just made them the size for whatever my pattern was, did a 1 millimeter raised design in there, put it in a flat press, and those were working great. Of course, your print bed is only so big. So if you've got a bigger one than this one, you can see the seams where I've kind of glued that together. So this one, I printed in sections and then glued it together. Still have not had a problem with the PLA. I thought that I was going to have to go to something more substantial, like carbon fiber or ABS or something like that. But honestly, I think this one I've done probably a couple of dozen presses with it. and every print's come out crisp and clean. I've not had any design failure, no cracking, no breaking or anything. So I'm sticking with the PLA. It's working great. So once I figured out that that was working, I decided to go ahead and try to do the belt wheel, and I'm super happy with that, with my investment. Getting, like I said, the 250 bucks for the Pittsburgh tubing roller. Getting just one of these lowers, that still cost me 300 bucks. So I'm pretty much into it for what the cost of a used, decent machine that's used. But the gold on this, the best part about this though, it isn't the money that I spent on the machine and stuff. Like I said, I'm close to what a used machine already, but I can print my own designs, and I'm not limited to the few designs that are available that come with whatever machine you get. And plus, since I'm designing and printing my own, they're unique, so nobody else has these designs. And the best part about it is, for these little ones, I've got $1 or $2 to print it. The big ones maybe up to maybe $5 for the big ones. So my cost on these is dirt cheap compared to having custom brass or metal, machined designs in there. Now, let's talk about limitations. 3D printing, you're not going to get the same detail, especially when it comes to contours and stuff, that you can get with the metal. So right now I'm pretty much limited to either it embosses or it doesn't. With some exception, like this basket weave, I was able to put a little bit, of a transitional in there, but for the most part, the design, it's embossed 1 millimeter deep on there, and because of the way these have to print, they're printed on their side so they can be all one piece. So that way, when this is going through, there's a lot of pressure on here, and I made these wheels big so that it would spread the pressure out some, but if I was to try to print it like this, it just wouldn't look right. So there's issues. I'm assuming that you look into some 3D printing. If you don't know already what the limitations are, look into it. There's some issues with it, with printing on the side. But my printer will handle a 1 millimeter overhang pretty well. I've not really had any problems with it. Anything more than that, and I start having, failure issues. But I don't want to print these with supports, because this is the part that's actually being embossed into the leather. And all the supports where they're connected, when you try to detach them and pull them off, even if you do get a clean detach, it's still going to leave a little bit of a mess, and all that is going to get pressed into the leather. So for me, I'm okay with this. I'm real happy with the designs I can get, and for the price I'm getting, I'm super happy with the quality. I did do a few extra things on here that really aren't necessary. I made this little crank to go on the top that turns the screw that raises and lowers the wheel. And that's been nice. The standard one, you just expected to stick a wrench on there, and you don't need that kind of leverage. We're not putting the same pressure on this as we are for the tubing, for bending tubing. So the leather embosses a lot easier. I would like to probably get sort of a catch on the other side, so when the leather feeds out and comes out this side here, then it catches and just kind of rolls up on itself. So that's something I'm working on. But like I said, if you've seen the previous post, you saw the belts that I did. I don't know if you can kind of see the detail on that, but hopefully that's coming out in the video there. And I'm happy with this, and being able to do all the different designs that I want, I'm pretty excited about that. So hopefully that kind of explains the process. I just had a lot of questions about how I was doing it and everything, and I thought I would just do a quicker video on that. So we appreciate you watching. I've got some other additions that I want to do this. I still want to make a smaller crank, and this big crank is just too big. But anyways, maybe when I get all the extras and stuff done, I'll do some more videos, but hopefully this answers the questions I was getting on the Facebook groups and the leatherworking. And we appreciate you joining us. So, feel free to message me, shoot me an email, sales@steampunkedout.com. If you got any questions about this, or if you want to get in on maybe trying to put a group together to get this machine so we can do kits if there's more people interested. But anyways, mostly I just wanted to answer the questions about the 3D printing methods that I'm using for doing the stamping. That was really the goal of this. So hope you enjoyed it, and hopefully you'll subscribe to the channel, and yeah, I'll try to do some more. I do a lot of different stuff. I do woodworking videos and stuff too, but I try to sneak some of the leather videos in here as well. The woodworking, doing the wand seems to be the most popular. But you know, anyways, yeah, if you subscribe, you can always just watch the leatherworking videos in the future if you want. So anyways, we appreciate you joining us, and we'll catch you all in the next video.